Hello there, gamers everywhere. I'm Swip92 and I'm here with my part 2 of my LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga review. Check out part 1 where I'll talk about story, level design, the worst boss fight in gaming history, well, my personal gaming history at least, graphic design, characters, and more in that first part. What I did fail to mention is that I'm playing on a PlayStation 4, because that is a little bit important in this part here. Now, in this part I will talk about combat, boss fight designs, the open world, and bugs and annoying issues that I have with the game. Let's go! We're starting off with combat, and it is quite different from earlier LEGO Star Wars games, and in a very good way for the most part. Like, for example, a good example is, I think I remember from the earlier games, is how ranged characters like Leia, Han, and other characters could start hitting friendly NPCs if you stood too close to them while firing. As the melee button and firing button was on the same button, you started hitting your friendly NPCs if they were too close. Well, this problem is gone, as the firing button is not the same as the melee button anymore. This means you can freely fire no matter how close the enemy or friendlies are standing, which is very important for consistent battle, I would say. This also opens up new places for puzzles or just Lego stuff to be shot, as you can aim freely by holding down L2 and then shoot where you want to. It is very freeing, I would say. Lightsaber combat, or melee combat in general, is also quite different, as it is slightly combo based, meaning you can press different buttons to create different kind of combinations of attacks that looks and work quite differently than normal basic attacks. Mixing melee attacks with jump and heavy attacks, which is on the circle button, creates different attacks that can be used in every combat scenario. What I mean by every combat scenario is that it works against bosses. One of the issues I had in the older Star Wars games is that when you attacked a boss with basic attack, well, the boss just blocked those attacks. There was a special kind of secret move you could make in the old Lego games where you could press square or X depending on controller, and then just wait half a second, then you could press it again, and the character did a special kind of move that actually broke through a boss's block. That doesn't exist here, but instead you can actually defeat or attack the boss with any kind of attacks, which is preferable to me actually. I will say that there isn't much incentive to do combos though, as they seem to do the same damage as basic attacks. For example, pressing square 2 times and maybe circle makes you do one thing, but the effect, the attack will be very different, will be more, shall we say, cinematic or cool, but the attack could do the same damage as you would press your square 3 times. This isn't the best thing for combos, but as the enemy is quite fragile, by that fragile I mean the ordinary troopers are, or enemies are quite fragile and dies maybe after 2 or 3 hits, it is understandable. The only reason to do combos, except for breaking the button mashing monotonous thing, or except for breaking the controller, is that normal enemies can start blocking basic attacks, which forces you to do a combo attack. For example, an NPC can start blocking your square attack, then to break that you need to press X to do a combo that will break their block. You can also use force attacks or shoot the enemy with a blaster, of course. That, as long as you do something else than just basic attacks. Bosses don't do this very much. They can block lightsaber attacks, but it's not something that they focus on. They are very aggressive. They focus very much on attack actually, which is kind of surprising actually, but I like it. Forces you to do something more with yourself or your character. What's also very new with combat is the droids can now attack as well, and they can also jump. I do miss R2's jets though. In the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy of the LEGO Star Wars games, or complete saga if I could just say complete saga of LEGO Star Wars, you could actually, R2 had these two jets like he has in the prequel trilogy. For some reason he does not have those in this game. I don't know why, but here's R2 beating up Darth Maul.
So uncivilized.
It doesn't make sense, but it's funny. It's funny as hell. Combat isn't perfect though. Many times the camera has ruined things. For example, when it starts in a boss fight, it will start focusing on the boss. The camera will zoom in a little bit and focus only on the boss. You can't rotate the camera, which is very annoying. Several times I've been attacking a friendly NPC instead of an enemy actually. This is not because this is because he's standing too close when I'm doing melee attacks, and that is a bit annoying. And at times the combat has been a bit non-responsive for some reason. There are also a few bugs, but we'll come to that later. Moving on to a little pet peeve of mine in this game is the boss battles, because yes, these battles are so big and important that they need their own little chapter. I've already mentioned the worst battle I have ever experienced in my gaming history in part 1 of my review. It was the old Luke versus Kylo Ren on Crate boss battle. And if you haven't seen that, you might be wondering how bad can it really be. Let me just say this. In this Star Wars game, Jabba the Hutt is a boss. Now, is he driving something? Is he using some mechanical arms to shoot lasers or wield lightsabers with? No, because that would make sense. It's that bad. In this Jabba the Hutt boss battle, you play as Leia and R2. The battle is basically hit Jabba, who can't hit back because a monkey lizard is sitting on his head covering his eyes. Yes, that's the boss battle. That's very much true. After a health bar goes down, after some hits, some ads come in and Jabba throws away the lizard. After ads are defeated, one of the lizards goes back on Jabba's head. Rinse, repeat. That's the boss battle. It was so boring, but the only reason it isn't on the bottom of this list, or on the bottom of my list, is because at least you need 2 hands to complete this boss battle. If it wasn't for the previous boss battle I mentioned, old Luke versus Kylo Ren, then this is definitely the worst one. So let's make this the second to worst boss battle in my gaming history. Ironically enough, 2 of the worst boss battles doesn't make this the worst game ever. And there are even a few really good boss battles in this one. A good example is the Kenobi engine versus Maul. It's a really good one. Very nice recreation of the reactor, whatever location that I can't remember the name of right now. The place on Naboo where they fight in the movie. It's a very good recreation, I think, in the LEGO game, and it looks really great. It looks like they're also taking some inspiration, perhaps from the EA Star Wars Battlefront 2 game. Either that or something else, because to me they look very similar to each other. It looks good, at least. Very good. And the continuation of the battle throughout the level is also very nicely done. It's varied, and there are ads and there are other things to do, not just fighting. Another really excellent one, I would say, is Luke versus Vader in Cloud City. It's a bit cinematic, dramatic, and humorous. It's basically the most perfect boss battle in this game. Luke versus Vader on the second Death Star is also very well made. It's dark, emotional, adventurous, and very, very good. It takes all the things from the games, or everything from the movies, I mean, and puts it into the game in a very nice way. Unfortunately, the boss battles against the Emperor Palpatine, that is, both in episode 6 and 9, are quite bad. They are very cinematic and nicely made in terms of effects, like the lightning he shoots. It looks really great, but they are so boring. Ugh. You can probably see from the gameplay that I'm showing from those two battles right now. They are very boring. Lots of lightning, lots of lightning, lots of and lightning, and lots of When it comes to boss battles and many other fights, well, most of the boss battles, I'm very glad that I chose to not have. You can actually, in settings, you can choose to if you want to hammer the button or if you just want to hold it down when a prompt comes. Like for example, when you're supposed to hammer down square, I just hold it down instead. I don't want to ruin my controller, so this is a very nice option. And I do recommend it, because those things are just killer on controllers. Another boring one is the fight as Rey and Kylo Ren versus the Praetorian Guards, Snoke's personal guards from Episode 8. Not because it lacks combat or visuals, but it does lack variety. You start as Rey, defeat a guard. Forced switch to Kylo, where you defeat a guard. Then you're forced back to Rey, repeat. This fight would have been better if you got to fight Snoke instead of the guards acting like ads. And Snoke should fight with only Force abilities like Emperor Palpatine does in The Force Unleashed. Maybe less lightning attacks only, but try to keep... like Snoke should try to keep his distance, shoot lightning, throw stuff, send guards at you. This should also have been the boss battle for Episode 9, where you get to play as Rey and Kylo versus Emperor Palpatine. The problem is that the battles could have been too much similar. That would have been a problem. But yeah, that is a better way to go, I would say. All other boss battles are pretty normal for LEGO Star Wars games, though. Puzzles, bit here and there, you always two characters. The Obi-Wan versus Anakin on Mustafar is a good example for extra characters that are thrown into this story that aren't in the movies, but that boss battle is pretty awesome. It has nice visuals, good combat, and so on, but kind of gets ruined by the R2 and C-3PO parts, where you get interrupted in the combat and you take over the control of 3PO or R2-D2 to complete some kind of puzzle or mini thing where you have to guide, or R2 has to go through a place to activate some kind of console that will somehow interact with Anakin and Obi-Wan. Yeah, it kind of takes me away from the boss fight, and not in a good way. But that's everything I have on boss fights. Jeez, 7 minutes on just boss fights. Oh yeah, let's move on. On to the bugs and issues I have with the game. The game has crashed on me twice. Well, at least twice. And that's a big issue for the game in and of itself, but at least the game saves regularly. It does save every time you find a collectible and so on. But if you're in the middle of the game, or in the middle of a level, I should say, maybe in the middle of a boss battle, that could definitely be very annoying and kind of ruin the fun, you know? When game crashes, I tend to just shut down completely sometimes. Well, anyway, another bug issue that is that I've had some FPS drop issues during both cutscenes and gameplay. They are annoying, but at least not game breaking. Now, I will point out that this is the important part of where I may have to mention that I am playing on a PlayStation 4, because a friend of mine who is playing on PC, he did not have these issues. He was a bit
Thanks, kid. Don't think this will last
annoyed
long,
that
kid,
the
though.
cutscenes were locked at 30 frames. Yeah, they were locked at 30 frames per second. He was annoyed at that, and that I can understand, but that was fine to me. But I would have preferred a higher FPS count there as well, at least 45. I'm not sure what the PS4 can handle, but I think 45 would have been a good mark to go for. But who knows? Some updates might have come to the game that have fixed these FPS drop issues on the cutscenes, but I have noticed in my gameplay, so yeah, they're not completely gone just yet. Same with the crashes actually, I just got one a few hours ago. Another really annoying bug I experienced is that I lose the ability to block with my lightsaber and also to throw it. I noticed this when doing a video or recording for this review. Problem is that video actually has been corrupted for some reason. I can't use that video that I recorded. But I couldn't block with my lightsaber. I could hold it down L2 for blocking, but my character did nothing. I could not throw my lightsaber by pressing R2 either, so that was... yeah, that was an issue. It's not game breaking, but it's definitely something that should be fixed. We'll see how TT Games does on that. When it comes to bug fixing, I don't have a lot of trust when it comes to Lego games, honestly, if I'm completely honest. I've also found some traversing issues. We're jumping between poles. There are poles in the ground, and you press X to jump onto one, and you press X to jump onto the next one, and so on and so forth. It has been somewhat annoying as it sometimes doesn't want to actually target the next pole. I have to control the camera, try to turn it, and try to find the right angle to actually jump onto the next pole. This targeting issue is also apparent when using grapple and a smuggler ability used for special type of puzzles. These are very annoying when going through a level and you can't aim at the thing you're supposed to be aiming as a smuggler and to complete the puzzle to actually move on with the game or level. So far not the biggest issue because I also always found a way to find the point where I'm supposed to stand or turn the camera, but wow, it can be really annoying. It pays to have a lot of patience with this game, let me tell you that. And surprise, surprise, as I was trying to capture some new and exciting footage for this review, I encountered some new bugs. One was I'm trying to deliver cargo from one planet to another. You get intercepted by enemy fighters. I don't know how you get pulled out of space, but that doesn't make any sense. But either way, you get attacked and you get to fight some enemies. The problem was I could not target them and I could not shoot at them quite. I could shoot them, but I had to manually try to aim, and the lasers did not automatically target the enemy fighters. I had to freely maneuver the ship and trying to hit the targets. And luckily, you would encounter 3 times you encounter enemy fighters, and luckily only the first one had a issue. But it was still a major issue that did not get resolved by restarting the game, changing ship, or anything like that. It might be specific for that particular cargo mission. I don't know. It was really annoying though. Another really annoying bug I encountered was that my ship started exploding. It just started exploding in the middle of space as I was traveling towards a point above a planet. It just started exploding and exploding and exploding, exploding, exploding. I had to restart. I had to reload my save. So that was something.
Peter?
Oh, and what was it that I was supposed to? What was the cargo I was having so much issue with? Ice cubes to the planet of Hoth. Yeah. Well, that's it. On to the next. And lastly, I want to talk about the excellent open world. Yes, I'm thinking it's pretty great. A lot of things to do, and even though you are collecting the same things over and over and over and over and over, and yeah, it doesn't get too monotonous actually, as the puzzles and locations are very different from one another. You will be traveling all over the Star Wars galaxy after all. So, of course, some locations will be similar, but it's inevitable when there are over 1100 Kyber bricks to collect throughout the game. I'm sure many of the side missions are also similar. I don't know, I haven't done too many of those yet. These 1100 Kyber crystals, though, they do include the ones earned from completing objective, objectives, objectives in levels like True Jedi and challenges. When playing in free mode outside of the story, you can freely explore the whole galaxy. Go to any planet available, just like they showcased in earlier trailers and gameplay before the game came out. You can also freely replay any of your completed levels to collect the mini-kits, get through Jedi, and so on. This can easily be accessed by pressing the menu button or down arrow on PlayStation or the touchpad button, where you navigate to missions and then replay missions. Just choose whichever episode and then the level, and then you can see which challenges do I have left, have I completed through Jedi, and so forth. And then you can just replay that with any characters you want. You can also replay the story, like replaying the story. I don't know what the difference really are, because as I started replaying the Maul battle or Maul boss fight, I actually started as Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, not as the characters I went in with. But you can choose whichever character you want from the ones you have collected. Now the issue is that yes, you can choose whichever one you want, but you will have to bring up the menu to do this, and it does not pause the game, which makes it so that Maul or any other boss can attack you, and this, if he knocks you down or possibly even hits you, that will interrupt you from choosing a character. So if you're looking for a specific character, well, tough luck. It could be a challenge to do that, unless the boss chooses to focus on the other character, the your little non-playable friend that you have with you. There are also plenty of ships and characters to collect in the open world through missions and challenges found in the open world, both on planet surfaces and in space. If you're unsure of where to find a specific character, you can buy a rumor that will tell you where to find them. Just go into the character
Nice.
list, find the character you want to find, click on them, and then pull down the buy rumor button, which is X or A, depending on which platform. Oh, and if you're playing LEGO games using a mouse and keyboard, what's wrong with you? Seriously. If you're playing LEGO Star Wars with a mouse and keyboard, no. I will never support that decision. I just can't. I just can't. It's against every fiber of my being. Anyway, let's move on from that. You can also buy rumors for challenges in the levels if you're unsure what challenge it is, because they're only marked by question marks. You might be able to find... No, I don't think you can find rumors in the world about challenges in levels, but you can buy a rumor to find out what the challenge is. For example, I bought the rumor for Darth Maul, one I didn't have. I only had the name of the challenge, but I did not know what to do. But I'm supposed to defeat Maul in under 10 minutes. Shouldn't be too difficult. And this is almost like pay to win, but with in-game currency, so it's so much better. So much better. But I love the open world as it doesn't feel empty, not because of the endless kyber crystals, but because of the many NPCs you can talk to. For some aliens and all the droids you find, you need a protocol droid to translate the language. It doesn't It really adds to the realism and the whole galaxy. It really adds to the realism that I'm in Star Wars. I don't understand every language. But take a protocol droid. Now you can understand, now you can get the mission. The only weird thing is that I believe you can complete the missions with any character, but you can't start a mission with any character. You might need a protocol droid or a bounty hunter, but you can always finish the missions with any character. I believe that at least. I haven't tried that with an alien that doesn't speak my language, or doesn't speak basic, I should say. Anyway, if I have to put a number on Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga, I will say a 7. And a major downgrade of uh, that number is because of the very big lack in imaginative boss fights. Yes, that's a big pet peeve of mine. But that has been my two-part of Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. Hope you enjoyed it, and I've been Swip Knight 2. Have a great life, and I hope to see you in future videos. Bye bye!